Good morning, Ala. How's it going?
Good morning, Mujtaba. We are very excited about the recent draws of the CEC, and this is, I guess, what we are going to talk about today.
Yes, we haven't had a video like this in a while, but a lot of great stuff has been happening recently. The CEC is back in a big way, and the draws seem to be trending lower. So today's video, we want to describe what is the CEC program, how can you be eligible to apply for it, and what different types of profiles may qualify for the current cutoff scores that we see in the rounds, and we're going to discuss the rounds as well. So let's start with CEC eligibility. So the Canadian experience class is for skilled workers who have Canadian work experience and want to become permanent residents. So this is the key thing. If you are in Canada and you have skilled work experience in Canada, which means tier 0, 1, 2, or 3, then you can be eligible to apply for the Canadian experience class. The minimum requirements here are that you have to have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada. Now, again, I mentioned that skilled work is defined as tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. This means that your 5-digit NOC code, the second digit of that NOC code should either be a 0, 1, 2, or 3. That's a skilled job. And you must do that skilled job for at least 1 year in Canada. The way they calculate 1 year is by hours. So you must have at least 1,560 hours over the course of minimum 52 weeks in order to get points or eligibility for 1 year of skilled work in Canada. Now, this work does not have to be continuous. It can be cumulative, meaning that if there were any gaps in between your employments, that's fine. You can add your hours from one job and the other job to come to the total of 1,560. The only thing is that in that situation, it would take more than 52 weeks for you to obtain the 1,560. It's also possible to work 2 part-time jobs as long as they add up to be 1,560. Again, in that scenario, it would take you more than 52 weeks to become eligible for the points or eligible for the program, or you could still gain the eligibility and points within 52 weeks if both of your part-time jobs are adding up to be at least 30 hours per week. Okay, so 30 into 52 is 1,560, and that is how you become eligible for the CEC. So that's the main criteria to be sort of selected when you make your express entry profile, to be selected to say, okay, you are eligible for this category. And then when there's a CEC draw that's conducted, they're going to analyze your profile under that stream. Some other eligibility criteria is the language ability, and the minimum score that you need for the Canadian experience class is, depending on your job, if you're a tier 0 or 1 primary occupation holder, then you need a CLB 7. If it's a tier 2 or 3 primary occupation, then it's a CLB 5, either in English or French. Okay, so there are some other things. Of course, you have to make sure there's no admissibility issue. There is no minimum education requirement to be eligible to apply under this Canadian experience class, but you should have your degree equivalencies done so that after eligibility you get some good points in that area. Now I want to talk about the recent draws that we saw in CEC and why we're excited to talk about this. The Canadian experience class draws, they were not being held for the longest time. I think it was almost 14, 15 months. And now all of a sudden, it's opened back up. So we see that, we can go back as far as July. Look at this. They had no CEC for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a CEC draw. Where is the first one? It's right here. So May 31st, they finally did the CEC. It was at a 522. And then just in less than 2 months, they did another one and it came below to 515. So this is very exciting for us. Do you have any comments on this renewal of the CEC draw?
So that shows that maybe the scores might, come down in every draw. Of course, we cannot predict, but this is a great experience for the people who just graduated. So first of all, they have to understand which position they're applying. As we mentioned, they have to apply for tier 0, 1, or 2,
or 3.
And also they have to work on their English in order to get the maximum points. And then for the CEC, we have many clients who got selected. They had a contract with us, and then they were on a pool, and then their score was less than 523, I think, Mushtaba, right? Our recent client. But they were on a pool, and then we were waiting for the draw, and then fortunately the draw was 515 and they got selected.
Yes. So it's really important if you feel that your CRS score is anywhere between 510 and even 510 to 520, you should definitely have your profile in the system right away, because these CEC draws appear to be happening more frequently and the scores are trending in the right direction. And so you may look at the 515 and let's say you have a 510 or a 512, and you may say, oh, I need to figure out a way to improve my points somehow because I'm not going to make the draw. If you look here, if you had the same mentality in May 31st, right, where the score was 522 and you had a score of 516, let's say, and you said, oh, I'm not going to put my profile in the pool because I'm below the cutoff. Well, look what happened. It went down, and anybody that would have been discouraged with a 516 would have missed the opportunity to be invited under the July 17 draw, which was at a 515. So it's really important to see if your profile score is hovering in the 500s. And if it is, then get your profile in the system as soon as possible, because you do not want to miss these draws, right? Because what if the next few draws start to trend up, and so you may have a period of low draws and now all of a sudden they're going up. You miss that window. So it's really important to have your profile in the system. And of course, this is something that we do all the time. You come sit with us, we do an eligibility. We like to verify whether you can credibly claim those points before we do the profile, but we do encourage everyone to post the profile as soon as the vetting is done. So now I want to switch to different variations of how people can get to the 510 to 520 range or above, so that if they're watching this video and they recognize their situation in our simulation, they can book a call with us, and we will be there to do the assessment for them. So let me go to the CRS calculator. Now, I will begin, Ala, with our most recent client who received the invitation to apply. Their score was actually quite high. Their score was 536. So let's see what a 536 looks like, okay? They were single. They were 26 years of age, okay? They had a master's degree from Canada. They had a perfect CELPIP score right here. They did not have any other language results. They had 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada as an office administrator, right? Which is a tier 3 job. And it took them more than 52 weeks to get to 1,560. I think it took them a year and 6 months to get those points because of breaks, because of taking some weeks were less than 30. But the thing they did that was smart was they had a chart where they were tracking their hours weekly and they were counting them, and they were able to know, how much more do I have to work to get to the magic 1,560 hour number. And as soon as they were able to do the 1,560 hours, they came to us and said, okay, I want to submit my profile. Yes, Ala.
So it means that the times that they are on break or on a vacation, it's not going to count towards their CEC.
Yeah, because they're not working during those hours, right? So it needs to be 30 hours minimum. So if they're working more than 30, let's say it's 40 to 45, IRCC is going to cut the count at 30. They're not going to count those extra hours. This is how they make sure that people have to spend at least 52 weeks to get the 1,560. 52 into 30 is 1,560. Now, if those 52 weeks could be accumulated over the course of 1.5 months, right? But it needs to be within that calculation. And this is what happened with this client. They did ultimately end up with 52 weeks, 30 hours or more, but it wasn't 52 weeks in a row, right? They had to work extra weeks to meet the 1,560 hour mark, which they were able to do, and now they have an ITA. This was really important for them. They had a 1-year experience outside of their home country, outside of Canada, in their home country, in a skilled job, and they were able to provide a work experience letter from their previous employer back in their home country, along with proof that they were compensated for that employment, which is very important. So, if people listening to this video have foreign work experience and want to claim points for that, please note that it's going to be important to prove somehow that you have foreign work experience with proof of compensation. Now, it is true that a lot of people who work abroad are paid in cash. And so there might not be a payroll system the way there is in Canada. IRCC does understand that, but they still would want some evidence of those cash payments. Maybe your employer has a cash receipt, or maybe you had a practice where you were regularly depositing those amounts into your bank account, and you can show us that deposit history. If you don't have this evidence, it's up to the employer to explain why there is no evidence of these cash payments. And in their work experience letter, they need to give you a valid, legitimate reason why. So one case that we talked about recently was where a person was being paid cash, and the clinic that they worked, they were from West Africa, the clinic that they worked for did have a record of cash receipts, but the problem was that they moved their clinic from one location to another one, and in that process they lost their records, or they were misplaced, right? So this is something that the clinic in their work experience letter should be able to explain. I paid this person cash. We typically do keep cash receipts, but because we moved the clinics, we lost those records, and unfortunately we don't have this information, but we do testify that it's been our practice to pay our employees cash, and this person was working with us for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, which would make the 30 hours per week for 2 weeks and get 1 year of foreign work experience. Okay. Certificate of qualification from a Canadian province. This would apply if you're in the skilled trades. And this is another also really important thing. There are some category draws for people who have experience in certain NOC codes that fall under the skilled trades, right? Canada will give people who qualify for the CEC an opportunity to be selected under the trades draws. So it's not the case that you must be eligible for the skilled trade program in order to be selected under the trade draw. You can be eligible for federal skilled worker program or the CEC program and still be selected under a trade draw. But if you are a skilled trade person and you have a certificate of qualification from the province, and this cannot be a preliminary certificate. In other words, if you have a stage 1 or stage 2 certificate, you cannot claim points for that. You must have completed all the steps such that the certificate you have, there are no additional steps to take in order to be fully certified. And if you do have that certificate, you can say yes here and you'll get an additional 50 points. Our client in this case did not have that. They also did not have a job offer supported by a labor impact assessment. They were on a postgraduate work permit, which still has 2 years of eligibility left. So this is also very important. This profile was able to get an ITA with still 2 years left on their PGWP, right? So there's that. They did not have an LMIA. They did not have a nomination certificate from a province or territory. They did not have any siblings in Canada. So look at this, Ala. This profile got them a 539. And this was the exact score for our client who received an invitation to apply for 515. The goal is, we want to encourage people, even if they have a score between 510 and 525, they should still apply, right? Because the score came down from 522 to 515, maybe it'll come down from 515 to 510 or lower, right? So if you're in that range, the low 500s range, you should have your profile in the system. How can we play around with this, Ala, so that we see somebody has a score of 515? So maybe now this thing is unusual. This person was 26 years of age, very young, and was able to do all these things before they turned 30, which is when the points for age start to come down, right? So typically, let's say that you're 35 years old and the rest of these things are true for you, okay? So you're 35, you have a master's from Canada, you have a perfect IELTS score, you had work experience from your home country, and you were able to obtain 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada. So these are, now we're talking about master students in Canada who are a little bit older than this client. Again, it's below the 515 cutoff, but I would still have this profile in the system in case the draw comes down below 506. As we see, this is why we're excited about the CEC, because we're seeing the scores trend down. Any comments at this stage for a 35-year-old master student?
So 35 years old master student, maybe we can increase the years of work experience in Canada instead of 1?
Yes, certainly. So as you know, like these days, even Canada is really prioritizing master students, right? So even 1 year of a master's program can get you 3 years of PGWP eligibility, and then master students are more likely to be employed in a skilled job right after graduating than people who are taking other types of programs. So it should be possible for a person to accumulate 2 years of Canadian work experience as a master's student, as a 35-year-old master's graduate from Canada. So let's suppose you're 35, you have these perfect scores, 2 years of experience. This will get you certainly an invitation to apply at this stage. So if it's somebody who is a little bit older, has some foreign work experience, 2 years of Canadian work experience, and a good IELTS score, come talk to us. We feel that we can really put you on a pathway to PR under the CEC class. Another variation, Ala. Let's suppose that they are, now this is most of the people that we talk to fall in this range, between 30 to 35, who are master students, right? But let's suppose you don't have a master's degree, and let's say you're 28 years of age, and your highest level of education is a bachelor's from your home country, and then you came here and you did a diploma. Let's say that they have 1 year, or let's say they have 3 years or more. The thing about the foreign work experience, Ala, is you don't get any additional points. If it's a 1 or a 3, it's the same amount of points. But let's say that you had two years of work experience from your home country, 1 year in Canada, what will be your score? 517. So even somebody who has no master's, right? They came here and they did a diploma, they're on their PGWP, they have 1 year of Canadian skilled experience, and 2 years of foreign work experience. If they are under 30, in this situation, then they are very likely to get an invitation to apply. That's another scenario, right? You will notice something that everybody that we simulated so far had a perfect CELPIP score. most people may not be able to get a perfect CLPIP score. So let's say that it is a little bit above average would be CLB 8. Okay. I want to show how much of a difference it makes in a person's score if their CLB is not high. So this we just discussed was a 517. Now if we recalculate, look at that. It went from a 515 ALA to a 461 because their CLB was reduced from 10 to 8.
Almost 50 points.
Almost 50 points. So see how important it is to really pay attention to your CLPIP scores. If we improve the 8s to 9s, so they are doing a little bit better than an 8, it will improve the score to a 505. So in other words, and this is still a profile that I would put in the system at this stage of the game. But the learning from this is CLB 9 is where you really want to be if you want to have any chance at the express entry invitation to apply directly from the federal government without any help from the province, right?
CLPIP 9, right?
Yeah, so CLB 9 for CLPIP, IELTS is the same thing. Yeah, I'm using CLPIP because it's easier to kind of, yeah. And CLPIP is very popular with people. Most of the people we talk to prefer this over IELTS. So maybe that's another tip for people out there. So again, this is somebody who's 28. So the good thing about this person is they're getting maximum points for age, right? So if you feel that you are like, if you have this profile, but let's say you're above 20, let's say you're 31 years old, right? And you have a bachelor's from outside Canada and a 1-year diploma from inside Canada, and you have, let's say this, right? Because look, we're talking about the CEC, okay? So anybody in this category needs to have 1 year of work experience in Canada. So there's no such thing as coming to us and saying, I just graduated, you know, I haven't started any work in Canada. Can I be part of the CEC? No. So if we say 0 here, then they do not qualify for the CEC anyway, right? So every single one of our simulations, we are only talking to people here who have completed 1 year of work in Canada. Okay, if you don't have 1 year in Canada, this conversation is not for you, right? Now it's about what other things we can play with. So here, if you're 31 years of age and everything else stays the same, right? CLB 9, you have, you know, a bachelor's from your home country, a 1 or 2 year diploma certificate from here, which I believe most people that we talk to are in that situation. And let's say you're 31, we'll give you 1 year of work experience here. You will notice that the score comes down from a 505 to 494. Why? Because they're losing points for age. So it becomes more important for a person to have perfect IELTS the older they are. So here I would say improve it to 10, and then you're at a 506. And this is a profile that I would have in the system based on current trends. Any observations, comments at this point, Ala? You want to try a different scenario?
No, that is very true. So it's very important that you have 1 year of working experience in Canada in tier jobs. So it's very important for you before, you know, accepting the job offer, understand that you're on a tier job. And then, as you could see, if someone is even 35 years old, but with highest level of English, they can apply for the CEC. I just had a call, mashallah, with one lady that she had a great French. She studied, she graduated from a PhD in the French language.
Mm-hmm.
But her IELTS score was not meeting the requirement, which you showed in the beginning, CLB 7. That's why she could not apply for the CEC.
Well, if this person wrote, I have a suggestion for this person. If they wrote the TEF or the TCF and they were able to score high grades there, they would be eligible for the CEC. So let me explain what I mean by this. If we go back to the CEC eligibility criteria and we look at the language ability requirements, right? The minimum score required, right, for the CEC class, it can be either in English or in French. So if they have a bad IELTS score, they should take a French exam and score well in that exam, and then they will be eligible for the CEC. So because it's two official languages, one is English and one is French. So maybe we can talk to that person again and recommend them to write the language exam. You know, I cannot stress enough how important it is to have good language exam scores. You know, we talk to so many people who find it annoying, a nuisance. They don't see why this is relevant to permanent residency. But for good or for bad, it ends up being really what makes or breaks your chances for permanent residency. It's worth investing in a coach. It's worth investing in months of practice to maximize the amount of scores that you can have on a profile to receive that all-important ITA. All right, so that is our, you know, quick sort of overview of the CEC. The CEC is back in business, folks. The draws are coming at a rapid rate. Let's see again. We had, you know, 2 draws in less than 2 months with the trend of these draws going down. The CEC class, if you have 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada, you should come and talk to us so we can see whether your specific profile fits into one of the variations that we talked about. If you
Does the number of invitations increase, Mujtaba, compared to the last draw?
Yes. So it's a very good point. So 3,000 is here and 6,300 are here. Now this is how the scores are actually sort of engineered in a way, right? 2 things determine the cutoff score, whether it's going to be high or low. One is, what is the overall quality of people in that pool, right? The second is, how many people is the government looking to invite in that draw? The higher the number, the lower the draw. The lower the number, obviously, the higher the draw, because they're going to pick the top, you know, in this situation, they pick the top 6,300 people. And of course, when you increase the ranking volume, the lowest score is going to be lower than compared to 3,000. And on the PR note, Ala, you know, the Canadian government has not made any changes to the annual number of PRs that they want to give. It is still 400,000, right?
This is the only thing that didn't change. Everything has been, you know, reduced.
Exactly. There's been so many changes. People are very confused. There's been, especially on the student side of immigration, the entire landscape has changed. You know, so PR targets are still 400,000. They are just adjusting which type of profiles you know, they want to give PR. So I believe the Canadian experience class is a source of permanent resident applicants that the Canadian government is interested to focus on in order to meet their annual quotas. And this is why we're very excited to talk about it.
Great, Mujtaba. It was a great learning. I hope the folks out there, you know, just learn something from our video as well.
Great, fantastic. And we'll see you next week with another video. The other video we're going to talk about, Ala, is also a very interesting topic for closed work permit holders who might be going through an abusive situation. So that's what we will talk about next. See you guys there.
See you. Thank you, Mujtaba.
Bye.